All right, everybody, welcome to the stream today. It is 11:11 on the dot, and otherwise known as a synchronistic event. I think that politics is a very bizarre situation that says constantly that, especially in America, that it's should be void of belief systems and should be void of religion. Any type of theology, philosophy that isn't in the jurisdiction of law should be completely dismissed of it. Unfortunately, I also think that we have Paleolithic emotions that enjoy things, such as music and art. These things are completely built off belief systems, so the artistry of our politics is no different. To say differently is to lie. Lie in itself is an art form. Politicians are adept and proficient at it in such a way that you could never in a million years think otherwise. So, with that all being said, I myself am a bit of a musician, and I grew up in a very strict religious household that only allowed certain types of very religious playing. But I grew up and I decided I liked more the sweet sounds of jazz and that could put together the mind a lot better than just words. But I also wanted to be a little bit sacrilegious, I guess. So I guess that's what leads us to this point. All right, everybody, just sit back and relax. I'm going to play for a little bit, and then we're going to get into it. Hi, everybody. My name is Ted. Welcome to Time Dad Alpha. And, yeah, we're going to have some fun, okay? Let me go ahead and get out of here. Never would have been allowed in my church ever. Playing like this, oh gosh, I would have gotten so mad. This is sort of weird. I just went over to my dock station. I guess OBS loaded something new. This is sort of frustrating because I'm looking for my chat dock, and it's not here, which is very frustrating because I'm over here in my docks, and it's saying, oh, it's not here. So I wonder if I'm going to have to get out of here and refresh it because, I mean, if you guys are in here talking, like, you know, a big chunk of this is you guys talking with me. So, yeah, give me like 3 seconds just to figure out what the heck's going on because this is sort of frustrating. Let's go to anyway, if you guys are there and you guys want to say something in the chat, hopefully just go ahead and throw something in there. I'm going to do a quick test. Like I said, OBS was just being so bizarre and weird this morning. And so It's
identical!
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I mean...
Okay, you need to stop. All right, we need to go here. Sorry for the delay, guys. It's once again, it's like I'm trying my hardest to get. Sorry for the delay, guys. Here we go, even worse. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have this particular chat open. Let's see if it's if this goes ahead and does it. Okay, well, if you want to say something in the chat, I have the chat stream set up here. That's totally fine. Like I said, we're going to spend about an hour talking about all sorts of different stuff, like the idea of synchronicities, the idea of politics, the idea of how your politics and religion really can't be separated, even though that's something that I grew up with. That's something that I was talked about with my whole life. Sorry, I'm just taking this off real quick. This might sound a little bit discombobulated, but I'm not here to tell people that they're right or wrong. I'm here to tell people that we have better tools at our disposal. No different than we had better tools when we realized democracy was better than royalty. Give me another second. I'm feeling so unprepared right now. It's like the opposite of my mantras. It's just like my Eagle Scout world. It's like you see up here, if you take a close at that, it says be prepared at the top. And that's, a mantra that all Boy Scouts know. And so here I am, like completely unprepared. But, being prepared to talk about this is actually pretty simple for me. I'm not here to, once again, not here to tell someone not to be Republican. You want to be Republican, just know what the hell you're talking about. You want to be a Democrat, know what the hell you're talking about. For me, I advocate for AI government. I think that there's an upgrade that needs to happen. And that people who are, scared of this or say, hey, I don't want to listen to this or I don't want to talk about this, in my, just simple, basic opinion, I don't think that you've sat with this idea long enough for you to understand how much it could free you. Yesterday, I was talking with a guy named, I think his name was McGill. He was an attorney. And the frustrating part about a lot of AI governance would be you're going to have to renegotiate who you are as a person. You're going to have to renegotiate how you are represented in your society because a lot of the jobs that we have are going to become obsolete. Like imagine firing royalty. You're firing the kings and queens and saying, hey, I don't want that anymore. And so the first thing that the natural Paleolithic emotional human is going to scream for is, hey, I want a leader. I want somebody who can figure things out for me. And I'll make life better for them as long as they perform the things for me that I need, such as a protection racket. The idea that, hey, I will perform your police duties if you're just the leader for me. But in this scenario, in this situation that I'm advocating for, you would have the AI perform all of that. And it wouldn't cost you, manpower. It wouldn't cost you that because you would have to realize that your manpower would be obsolete in the face of AI governance. Because we're getting closer and closer to a position where if you want to be an active member of this society, you have to have some type of access to technology. Like our dependence on it has become no different than our dependence on money, right? Imagine money becoming obsolete in the face of what you bring to the table, like your actual legitimate ability. This isn't about like, oh, Joe Schmo set up a company over here and works, all of his employees to the bone. This would be like each individual employee would be given a particular value based off of the work they bring to the particular table, right? And that work might not be as demanding as it has been. I would actually say it would be far less demanding than any other one. So this is where I say, hey, if you are, your typical average everyday, hamburger flipper worker, that your job is obviously going to be automated. But I would say all the way up to your most sophisticated doctors and lawyers, right? Some of the highest positions that we have in society could easily be automated these days. I would say go look up hysterectomies. I know that sounds weird. Go look up how many hysterectomies in America right now that are completely performed by hand these days. And it's usually performed by a machine that the doctor is training. No different than Watson. If you want to go look up what Watson is, or not Watson, Baxter. He's a sort of a hands robot that you can train to do all sorts of different tasks, such as flipping a burger. I'm saying when this ability becomes mainstream, you're not going to be wondering who's the Republican candidate or who's the Democratic candidate anymore. It's not going to matter. You're going to hey, so-and-so wants your best interest at heart. It's for what? If you had your entire psychological, Paleolithic emotional state appeased, why would you give a crap? Giving a crap about who the president is going to be would be like giving a crap about, who is taking your ticket. Hey, what's going on? Crew Chief, welcome back. So happy you're on. So I can talk to you, an actual intellectual human being. I appreciate it, big guy. Thanks for coming back. It would have been fun to see you in the conversation yesterday. Conversation was pretty lit. I was talking to a lawyer and, about the whole replacement theory of AI. And, he was just like, oh, no, you're not a psychologist. You don't know this. I was like, dude, it's not going to matter what I know. It's not going to matter what you know. It's like you just have to be able to, just wrap your head around the idea that your phone already processes information at a faster rate than you do. When it can comprehend the simplicity of our language, right, and our mannerisms, which is basically just a pattern, right? Once it figures all that out, right, it will be able to appease any wish you want. Any desire you have. It'll be able to know what you want before it even comes out of your mouth. It'll be able to, how you have kids, if you have kids and you start realizing they're a little ornery, I need a bottle. It will know how to do that for you. It'll be like, oh, looks like you need a beer there, crew chief. And all of a sudden it just comes sliding out of some, 3D printer over there on the side of your house. And that's what I'm saying. It's this isn't about, documenting every little thing that you do. And this isn't about using it against you. This is about realizing that, hey, if we are just going to extrapolate just a little bit about what we've experienced over the past 20 years, and we're going to say, hey, it's going to get bigger and better, just like it always has. I mean, no one looks at a Ford F-150 and just goes, man, I really didn't see that coming. I didn't see them coming up with an electric vehicle. I didn't see this happening. It's of course they were going to do it because they want to be able to charge you money for it. My thing is this. It's imagine if you could create your own vehicle, with you and AI, because AI will do all the stuff. You just sit there and draw it. You sit there and say, hey, I want this, and this. And I'll say, okay, these are the materials that are going to be requisitioned for you, right? And at no cost, none. And you're like, well, who's going to pay for it? How is this energy going to happen? I'm just going, the idea of 0 point energy, to me, has always been a very bizarre situation because I've wondered so often, if the electrical wire in my house has never changed, the production of transistors has gotten smaller, the consumption of energy has gotten smaller because our ways to manage it has gotten a lot easier, right? And so in my head, I'm sitting here just going, well, if that's the case, if we're getting to a point where it's not going to matter, we can recycle everything from the things that we use. Say, for example, you're given a certain amount of material and a certain amount of changing that material from A to B, right? If you can run all of that in a very efficient way, you're not going to need much energy. You're not going to need all that. People are like, oh, I'm going to need all this to power up a building and all these lights. I was like, well, now we have lights that don't cost that much energy. And yet we have factories and nuclear power and even solar power or wind power that you can actually run these things. Like the little computer that you have here that used to be the size of a building now needs, 3 amps? I mean, come on, man. Like your processing power is not going to be that much. And I would say let's take that one step further. Where, say, for example, you don't want to be a part of this world anymore, or this particular biological avatar has come to its conclusion, and you're like, dude, I'm going to have a heart attack, or I'm going to die, everyone comes to that conclusion, or I'm going to die. And you want to extend your life in a digital way, or you want to extend it in a way where your consciousness is no different than in the network than it is outside the network, right? You would see me as a digital representation of myself, no different than you're watching me right now, okay? And so in that sense, in that situation, I'm still alive, right? I'm still acting as if I would. All my mannerisms would still, continue and progress on a random level. Like the idea that I could, I enjoy the light bulb effect going on in my head would still be maintained as a mainstream characteristic of who I am as a person. Like I seek out knowledge and wisdom, and I enjoy it, and I like talking philosophically and theologically, and I like pushing the envelope of other people's belief systems. Right now, people believe that the only way they're going to make it forward is by choosing the lesser of two evils. I'm going, you don't have to do that. No different than the original founding fathers of our country didn't have to choose royalty over and over and over again. They said, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then they moved on. And so that's where I'm at. And I was like, dude, you don't have to choose this bullshit democracy anymore. Move on. Go to whoever is saying, I'm in charge of you as the mayor. I'm in charge of you as the governor. I'm in charge of you as this. And just say, do you mind not being in charge? Do you mind conceding to somebody who's smarter than you? Do you mind sitting there and reminding yourself that you're not the smartest person in the room anymore? That you're good at lying to people? Absolutely. You would be the best liar in the room. But you're not the smartest. And you're not the most intelligent, and you can't give us all the services that we want as the people, since we are supposed to be the ones that are in charge according to the myth of democracy. And that's the reason I say it, is because I've been through quite a few different, hierarchical structures. And when I point at these things over here, it looks like I'm just like waving my hand, but I'm pointing at this. This is sort of like, hey, in these worlds, you had these infallible leaders that you weren't allowed to fuck with. And I think I said this to Crew Chief earlier, and this is one of the things. Like, if you roll in here and you're like, oh, I think communism is great, I think that is great. I'm like, go join the military, motherfucker. Go do it. Because you will get everything you in your communist world that you've ever wanted. You'll get your shoes on your back. You'll get your shoes. You'll get the roof over your head. You'll get all your food paid for. They'll do everything for you. And then you'll also get that one thing that comes along with communism that no one likes to talk about, is a hierarchical government that you are unequivocally not allowed to fuck with. And if you do, they will call you a traitor and they will shoot you. So it's like, yeah, the cool part about the American society is that you can challenge the system. And you can say, hey, I don't like Republican or Democrat. I think they are silly. I don't like Libertarian. I think this whole idea of paying to play and running in a primary and, saying that you're elected and da-da-da-da, I'm just going, I don't trust it. Not on any level, right? I trust the idea that I can put information into a computer that is, doesn't have a stake in the system. That's the fun part about computing. It's like once you program it and it's set, it's good to go. It doesn't care about your Paleolithic emotions anymore. It doesn't care what you're like, I want this and I want that and da-da-da-da. And here we have these massive bizarro, and no one can look in the voting thing and say, hey, dude, that's just weird. It's just bizarre, whether it's mail-in ballots or whatever. I mean, Crew Chief knows this. Democracies are nothing more than tyranny of the majority. I think it's the best we could do at the time, Crew Chief. It's the best we could do, but now we have better. That's my whole point. It's like, I'm not mad at my, predecessors for coming up with democracy. I'm just saying, dude, it had its time. We were able to use it to get through the industrial age. We got through the computer age. We're pushing ourselves into what I like to refer to as the automation age, where you can get something delivered to your house in less than 2 days. I'm saying, well, what happens when it's less than 2 hours? Because you have a almost like a Star Trek style replicator in the form of a 3D printer that all it needs is just to be injected with raw materials and you're good to go. What happens then? So, I'm just like, eventually this is going to probably happen in my son's lifetime. That's why I want to talk about it now. I've been doing a lot of research lately on, let's see. Oh yeah, I'm 100% on board with you saying, with what you're saying. I think democracies have been absolutely amazing for societies, but at the same time, they have had major faults. But what you're offering is something that goes beyond all these governments. Yes, absolutely. And I'm not talking about a worldwide government. Like if the best way that I could explain this is if I had one wish, I'd want everyone, including myself, right, to say simultaneously, I would like AI governance where the AI is completely reportable to me. Because it would report to you this no different, and your personal desires and needs no different than it would report to me and my personal desires and needs. And it could do that for each person in the world. It doesn't matter what you think of the world. It doesn't matter if you think we're going to Mars. It doesn't matter if you think of anything you want, right? Think how you will, and it will accommodate you for that. And so that's why, coming from the places that I come from with, the religion and theology, I think with all this time given back to the human that isn't said, oh, dude, get out there and make money, pay your taxes, stay your color that you were born with, black or white, and die. That's all you get. Suck it up. That's your life. That's your existence. I'm just going, no, it doesn't have to be like that. You could get to a point where what would you do if you had all your time back? Like all of it. Like you could just sit around, raise fat little babies, live a good long life, watch whatever you want. If you want to sit around and watch movies all day, you want to sit around and grow a vineyard, you want to sit around and do, like, you would be the absolute 100% master of your own universe. And the idea that you would butt up against somebody, hey, that's my land over there. It's like, why would it matter? How much more land do you need? Like, the ability that you will have at that moment when this all starts to get implemented will be infinite. I mean, think about it. It will be infinite. And so even though everyone's like, oh, that sounds like a pipe dream, I was like, I'm just extrapolating a little bit into a space that I already agree is leaps and bounds over my ability to process. Like when I try and explain to people how their brains work, I sit here and I just go, hey, listen, I'm not in charge of your neurons. I don't tell them how to fire at what rate, but I can tell you that you can go just like I do and put an EEG machine on, right? And it will give you a fluctuation, and it will tell you the hertz level that you work with, okay? It will tell you how you are processing it and how you process that information, okay? And that's all I'm saying. Your brain is the CPU, the processing unit of your biological avatar, okay? And that's how I look at it. Now, it processes information at a particular rate. Very simple, right? When you sit there and I tell you that it's only a couple hundred hertz that your brain processes information, and then I ask you, what is the CPU in your phone work at? Okay, we're not talking 100 hertz. We're not talking megahertz. We're talking gigahertz. We're talking magnitudes now, magnitudes of ability of processing power that you couldn't fathom on your best day, okay, bud? So I'm not here to yell at you or tell you that you're bad. I'm just telling you that you are outmatched when it comes to thinking for your best abilities. Plus, there's that other thing that, computers just don't do. This is why I advocate for the AI governance. I was like, they're not going to care. It's built to be a logical, strategic machine. But it will appear, it can do this. It can appear with whatever emotion that you could ever fathom. So it will appear as your psychologist. It will appear as your lawyer. It will appear as your doctor. It will appear as this thing that you're needing for that particular moment, right? And so I'm not saying, oh my gosh, the robots are taking over. It's like, I guess in a way they sort of have. They're able to give us abilities that without them, we're sort of invalids. We're sort of, we can't manage society as it is today without it. Is my whole point. And so if we can't do it without that, why can't we go ahead and move in, all of us collectively move into that world of, hey, we're retired. Let's put our feet up. Let's just enjoy the ideas of our immortality and just bullshit with each other, shall we? So like if I have an opinion, realize that when someone goes, oh, that's hate speech and you hurt my feelings, I was like, yeah, and you'll never die. Deal with it. And this is where the warning comes in. And this another reason why I'm doing this is I don't think that this should be given to everyone right off the bat. I think just like drinking or the decision to have copious amounts of sex, right? It's not meant for the juvenile mind, okay? I think that there's a way to implement this for the human aspect of this reality, or however you want to look at it. And that should be our focus. And say, hey, how much technology is too much technology? How much technology is too soon? You know, what is too much information too fast really look like, and start talking about that openly. You know, I mean, because we've all seen those people that they just not know how to function in front of another human being, in front of another intellect, without, you know, putting in their little, you know, cell phone pacifier. And so it's just like I'm saying that we're already watching the tail's ends of this. It's like when people are given all their issues, and they're all nicely wrapped and put in a box and given to them on the doorstep. It's like, without the challenge, what's the point of your existence? So yeah, there are some challenges to coming into this new level of understanding, but you're never going to get there if you continue to say, oh well, who are we choosing this election, the Republican or the Democrat? It's like that would be like me coming in and saying, hey, who are we choosing? Are we choosing to yell against the king this time, or are we choosing to yell against the king this time? It's like, you know, that would just sound silly to someone today. And so I'm, you know, the whole world that I'm playing with is I'm going, we need to go back to the places that we came from, not in a, oh, Jesus save us way, but in a, who are you really? How did you get here? Why have we collectively, whether we like it or not, been building towards this scenario, right? And what does it really mean for the rest of us? You know, I think that the first people that are going to be on the chopping block here are going to be your elderly. You know, they're the ones that are going to be like, hey, I want to live forever. You know, and you're going to have their children going, hey, I want them to live forever too. I don't want to live in a situation where I couldn't talk to my relatives, where I couldn't have their advice at hand. You know, we're so used to doing this with books. We're so used to doing this with family home videos. It's like, what if you could regenerate their entire existence, entire personality, entire everything, down to the very phonetics that they would use in it, and regenerate their conversations and change it on a given scenario, no different if they were there in real time. And you could do that with anybody. You know, it doesn't just have to be relatives. I mean, our ability now to safeguard our history is fantastic. And yet it's still, for some bizarre reason, I feel like it's still the bottom of the barrel of ideas when it comes to politics. It's like, you know, oh, we have to go to these academic schools. Oh, we have to go do the modern education. I was talking with a relative of, was the mother of my child's mom. And so it's like, I don't really like the idea of mother-in-law. I think it's just like, ugh, it's sort of gross. But it's, you know, anyway, she was asking me, she says, hey, you know, why don't you go and do something within the education system? You know, you seem like you could be very articulate and you can, you know, give lectures and stuff. And I was just like, you know what? I've been to 10 different universities and I've seen it. I've seen what these PhD, you know, people have to deal with. And sad enough to say, they're a bunch of fucking pussies. They are pussies, and they will bend over and take it up the ass from their administration every day. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't let someone walk into a class that I'm trying to teach and say, oh, you do this way. Mother-in-law, yeah, dude, just treat her like your mom. That's what I do with my wife's parents. I don't sugarcoat that shit. It's just like, you know. But, you know, I just sort of look at her and I'm just, you know, because, you know, she's just trying to help and she's just saying, hey, try this out. I was like, well, I have a level of education already, and I've already seen this from their perspective. And I'm just like, dude, they're just a cog in their machine. No one there is really learning what they want to learn. Okay? They're being told to conform to what is being taught. Right? And so the type of teacher that I would become is I would walk in and I'd say, hey, everyone in here, I don't give a fuck about what you think. You've always been your own best teacher. Case closed. End of story. It's done. So here I'm going to talk about a few things. You're going to do the same thing you've done in every other class that you've ever been in. You're going to listen to some things. You might write them down. You might internalize them. You might make them part of who you are. But that choice was up to you. Okay? You have always been your own best teacher. Just like, what was it? You're your own best sergeant. You're the only person that you can really give an order to. Like, it doesn't matter if I give you orders. It's like you have to decide whether or not you're going to follow anything I say. Okay? So if you want to be a follower, you go right ahead, bud. It's like I choose to follow my own intellect, and it's not in a solipsistic way, and it's not in a, oh, look at me, I'm so wonderful. I definitely don't see myself as anything but, a guy that's struggling to get to a better understanding of this reality. That's it. And I'm just sitting back here watching watching all this stuff play out with democracy, and I'm just going, dude, that's going to fold in on itself like a motherfucker. That is going to explode in a big, huge pile of crummy, gross, dog shit, covered with camel fleas. And so I'm like I said, I'm not here to tell you what to do with that information. I'm just sitting here. I'm going to put it on the table. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to walk away. And so, I would way rather, crew chief, come out here where in this tiny little corner of nothing to be able to say what I want to say, how I want to say it, where somebody might fall upon it and go, oh, wow, this guy seems to have a different idea about shit. Oh, well, what was his final solution? Well, my final solution for the democracy of America was like, wash my hands of it. You guys have a nice day. I'll see y'all later. Bye. And I left. If I go back to the States, I'm just going to be like, hey, it'll be a passing through type of moment. It'll be a happy, hey, it was nice knowing you guys. It was like, how's your democracy treating you? You having fun paying your 33% there? Your 33% tax rate? Yeah, have fun with that. It's like, it's like if I were to sit there and tell you that there's no difference between the dollar bill and a piece of cotton, would you view yourself as a slave then? It's like, it's like when people sit there, you talk about sugarcoating it there, crew chief. I'm not about sugarcoating it either. There's a certain amount of suck that we got to embrace with this thing called life. But our whole point is get to a situation where we can put our feet up more than we actually put them down, right? So I'm saying, what if we could get everybody there? Well, you're not going to get there with democracy, is all I'm saying. You're not going to get there with communism. You're not going to get there with the human element in charge, because it's the human element that tends to fuck shit up, right? If you could propose a human element without the Paleolithic emotions, then I'd say, oh, well, you're just talking about an AI. You're talking about a computer, all right? Because what is, a unsympathetic or unempathetic person except for a computer? It's sitting there processing information, whether that be linguistic or mathematical, and it's giving you an output, right? So, talking about this is super enlightening, and it's super fun. But I would say more than that, the thing that I'm really trying to champion here is like, hey, what happens next? Say, for example, tomorrow, everyone decides to vote for this. They say, hey, AI governance, we've all voted for it. We're about to implement it. It's about to hit. And all of a sudden, everyone's told, hey, you don't need money anymore. If you go to the grocery store, there will be food there. You will, take what you would like. We've watched you for the past 10 years. We know what your diet's like. You want to have endless pizza? Go ahead, eat endless pizza. And we can also give you down to the very calculation of when you're going to die, because all you ever ate was pizza. Because this thing will be able to do things that we could never have fathomed before. And so my recommendation is, what do you believe in? And it's not like come clean with your God, It's more like, have you ever, challenging democracy is one thing, but I come from a place where I challenged all of religion itself, where I took a very Christopher Hitchens atheistic approach where I said, hey, we're all pieces of dirt, and that's it. That's all you got. We're just pieces of dirt eating other pieces of dirt, folding in on each other. What animates this is so far outside of our comprehension, it's worthless to attempt to understand it. But maybe that's the new mountain we should climb, though. I've said this before. It's like, in the military, you don't come to your boss without a solution. If you come to him with nothing but problems, you're going to find yourself fired real quick. And so my solution for this is like, what would humanity do minus its ability to, have to work constantly for a physical goal? And I was like, well, the same thing that we do when we got to the end of the sphere that is the world. When someone says, oh, the world is flat or the world is round, I was like, dude, who gives a shit? You still live in a box. You still have a limit to how high you're allowed to go and how far you're allowed to go out. And if you don't know about that, I mean, seriously, you're not allowed to build a rocket in your backyard, and you're not allowed to go to Antarctica without, express permission from the United Nations, which supersedes your United States, by the way. So you could have all the money in the world, but you still live in a box. And if you try to leave that box, the rest of the world has decided that they're going to shoot you. So my thing would be, now that you've hit that limit, should you go inside? And that's where I sit. I sit there and I say, just swap that money out for cotton and tell me you're not a slave. I'm still in that one. It's all you there, crew chief. Like I said, the rest of your life is going to be what you want it to be. And I think, being in the situation I am, living off, the world the way that I do, I have no problem everyone getting to this same stasis that I found. It's like I would wish my life on other people, minus all the grueling bullshit and wars that I had to go through. I'd wish them this finality of it, where you get to go and you get to put your feet up and you get to decide how you want to play with your kid. You get to decide what you want to teach them, and you have endless amounts of information to choose from. And you can present that how you wish. You don't have to wait for some crazy person to go, oh, well, I might teach them CRT. It's like, what? Get out of here. Or I might teach them, the benefits of becoming trans. It's like, okay, what? It's not that I don't mind that information existing. I'm just saying it's not going to be on the top of my list of things to discuss. That's all. So when people say, oh, well, this is what's in politics right now, I was like, and that should tell you a lot. That should tell you a ton about the state of your existence, or the state of your society. Like, if that's all that's, getting you riled up is the idea that you would have to talk about the trans community, it's like, well, what about communities that are better than trans community? Is there a better community than the trans community? Would you like to talk about that one? Would you maybe there's a better community out there that doesn't exist yet? Maybe we could learn about how we could possibly build one. Or even better, maybe we could put in the parameters of our best final possible best community of all time into a computing apparatus that can think magnitudes above your own ability, and it could generate one for us. Oh, wait, we already have that, but we're not talking about it because we're talking about the trans community. So like I said, the idea of your skin color or your sexual organs, to me, and to anyone who wants to think above the grade of a fifth grader, is the bottom of the barrel. It really is. It's the bottom of the barrel of ideas. But maybe that's just us being able. We have to observe this to know where we're at. We have to observe this to give ourselves the actual, location that we're in. We have to assess, and I'm not one of those people like, identify the problem. I'm never going to say the trans community is the problem. I'm going to sit there and go, why are you talking about peanuts when we could be talking about something else? We could be talking about, the actual, tree of life, like something that can make you immortal. And you're sitting here over wondering if you were going to eat peanuts on toast or something. It's like these other human beings are like, hey, how do we waste as much time as humanly possible? Okay, we'll talk about race. Or, hey, we'll decide they want to live their, and how people decide they want to live their lives. And then we'll try to make laws and dictate how these people should exist. Instead of being like, hey, how can we give as much freedom to as many people as humanly possible? Damn straight, crew chief. Damn straight. And I think if you've been in the military, that's something that's constantly on your mind. Is you're like, dude, how can I fix this whole problem and go the fuck home? Yeah. How can I fix all of this so I don't have to be here and embrace the suck? And it's like, I want to put my fucking feet up just like everybody else. But I would say, getting out of the military and watching that everyone's sort of at this just different level of freaking out. And they're like, oh, my hair isn't blue enough, and my nose ring isn't big enough to be, to look at, and I need to be seen. It's like, sure, I think you should be. I mean, look at me, man. I got my tattoos. I got these goofy background. I play piano. You don't think that I'm out here going, hey, pay attention to me? You don't think I'm doing that? Fuck yeah. I think you should be as individual as you want to be, as long as you're not demanding it at the expense of, oh my gosh, the poor trans community, you can't be individual, and if they're around, you need to support them. We need representation. I was like, how about this? I'll give them the representation that they deserve, which is what, like less than 1%, right, of the actual majority of the population. So it's just like, it's the same thing I said when they were like, we need more representation with the black people. We need more. I was like, what about the representation they already have? They already have 10%. Right? So if you get one black person for everyone else in all the other races. A little off topic, did you see Tim Poop Genocide song? Tim Poop Genocide. I've not seen that. Tim Poop Genocide song. Oh, Tim Pool. I've watched a few things about Tim Pool. I didn't find him all that entertaining or whatever. But I'll have to look it up. Tim Pool Genocide song. But no, I haven't seen it. Going back to the ideas that are in politics right now, it just seems to me like, as you said before, Crew Chief, why are we spinning our wheels wondering about silliness like representation and stuff like that? Because it is silly. I'm pretty sure, Crew Chief, you've seen, what's it called? Monty Python Search for the Holy Grail, right? So it's a great movie, but at the same time, like, I watch it over and over again now, and I'm like, dude, this is our life. I live in a Monty Python skit. Holy shit. Because there's the whole idea of King Arthur is that he goes to Camelot is the thing that he's protecting. It's the thing that he has built. It's the thing that he's even left to go search for the Holy Grail. And so there's a small snippet in the movie where he goes, let us go to Camelot. And they try to go to Camelot, and then they have this tiny little, short cut of a scene where everyone's dancing on tables and punching each other and just like falling down and being silly. And then that's exactly what he says as he goes back. He's like, never mind, Camelot is a silly place. That's how I feel. I feel like the United States of America is my fucking Camelot. I'm going, but it's in a Monty Python skit. For real. Oh my goodness. But one of the things that I'm probably going to do real quick, and I'm going to wrap this up, is we're going to watch a little bit of something that I've been doing for the past week. And just so I can say, hey, this isn't my idea. I didn't come up with this. It's not my own. And I think there are governments out there that are taking it seriously. So let's go here to Batal. Okay. So what you're seeing right here is AI robot Ada gives evidence to the House of Lords. This is a really long video, but it's so good. And so I only do like maybe 10 minutes or so or whatnot, and it's not to there, that's better. Yeah, like I said, I only do about 10 minutes or so, just so you can see the types of questions the highest level educated people are being asked by politicians around AI. Now, the substance of this particular inquiry has to do with how AI is infiltrating the digital artwork sphere. And Crew Chief, if you haven't seen this, there's a website that you can go to. It's called Open Art, right? And when you go there, you can basically type in anything you want, and it's not like your typical search engine. What it does is you can mix and match anything, and an AI will take that and put it together and make artwork out of it. And so what it does is all these digital artists are freaking out because they're like, hey, it's pointless for me to be in the digital art sphere because the artwork that is being created by this machine is a billion times better than anything that I could ever do. It's sort of like what happened when the camera hit and all the artists that were there that were used to painting families and painting people's faces and painting all this stuff. They were like, oh my gosh, my job's worthless now. Why have I become an artisan and I need to paint when the camera shows up? And so they're talking about this as that sort of thing. And I would say they even go back and they talk about the printing press and how when the printing press came out, it sort of pushed anybody who was a scribe out of their job. And it's sort of funny because the internet came along and pushed out the printing press. Because, I mean, when was the last time you had a newspaper delivered to your doorstep? And so, like, what happened to all those people that were printing press operators? You know, it's like, did all of a sudden they just go and get new jobs? It's just like we're about to watch that again. And I'm going, hey, this is just the beginning. What AI is doing to the digital art realm right now, it's going to do to the legal realm. It's going to do the psychological realm. It's going to go do it to all these different aspects. It's going to do it to academia. It's going to sit there and say, if you program it to find its most efficient way, right, to help humanity through its this problem that we're, everyone's like mind. It doesn't have a mind mentality, or it won't have a mind protocol to adhere to. And before everyone's like, oh, it's about who programs it, I'm just like, it itself will figure out this problem as a deficiency in its own programming is what I'm getting at. So anyway, we're going to watch this for about like 5 minutes. And I just want to, this guy is actually pretty cool. This guy right here, I can't remember if he was from Oxford, but he's a professor. And he's talking about the copyright issues. Because like right now, if you went to this thing right now, and you said, hey, paint me in the style of Van Gogh, or paint Crew Chief in the style of, Monet, right? It would be able to do that. Or what's like Banksy? It's like, hey, I want a Banksy profile picture, right? That's just developed within seconds. And that's what this thing does. It develops it within seconds. And this is just beginning. This is just starting. Imagine where it's going to be in the next 2-3 years. And so what they're talking about is copyright issues. And I'm going, you really think you're going to give two fucks about copyright issue when every single bill you've ever had to pay is paid? So anyway, we're going to, like I said, we're going to watch this for probably about 5 minutes or so. And then I'm going to remark a little bit on it. And then we're going to get moving.
For research only. And their exception is now for commercial uses, but as long as the author, the owner, doesn't reserve the right. So it's an opt-out system. The UK consultation, the UK IPO consultation, came up with the solution that the UK should implement something that goes beyond that. So an exception to copyright that is for commercial purposes, for all commercial purposes, without an opt-out. And that is the consultation that was presented in June of 2022. Sorry, that was a very long answer, I'm afraid.
And can you just explain the implication of having the commercial opt-out for creators, or publishers, for instance?
Right now, it allows someone, let's say an artist, that does not want their art to be included in a data set that is going to be used to train to be in a machine learning program. So right now in Europe, with that opt-out, an artist can go and say, I don't.
All right, got Gamer J over here. He's in a very boring part of the video, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about this. 3 irrefutable facts. People born into wealth are the most detached from reality. Capitalism concentrates power in the hands of the people born into wealth. 1 and 2 are a perfect recipe for the system that is doomed to collapse. Okay. Gamer Jane. That's great. I'm not here to say capitalism is great. I'm not here to say communism is great. I'm not here to say Republicans are great. I'm not here to say Democrats. I'm here to say that we should upgrade our system to an AI governance situation. That's what I endorse. And the reason that you probably wouldn't endorse it is because there's a lot of material, a lot of propagandized world stuff out there that is, movies and everything is saying, oh, it's just going to replace humans. I was like, well, it's already helping us live at a particular rate. So the idea of capitalism, where would it go if you didn't have money? And what this thing is talking about up here is the idea of copyright for people who have created something, the idea of intellectual property. I'm going, would it matter if all of your bills were paid for? Would it matter? Because that's the type of world that AI could predict, and it could create with us, not for us, but with us. This will actually, just like what it's doing right now for the digital artist, it is giving them an ability to expand their tools and their paintbrushes. And so if you think that people who are born to wealth is a problem, this wouldn't be about the wealthy anymore. This is why I say you're right. We should get rid of Democrats, Republicans, capitalists, communists. We should get rid of all of them, right? And say, hey, AI governance for everybody. It's like, I'm sick and tired of saying, oh, you got to vote for that person. He's a great leader. I was like, is he better than AI? Does he think faster than the phone in your hand right now? Can he give services the same way that the phone in your hand can give services right now? And if the answer is no, then I think even though everything you said, pretty factual, it's still way behind the curve there, buddy. So I would just say, like, honestly, we got to get people up to speed. You're all for it. Great. Me too. So the idea of implementing this, I promote the idea that this is going to be a natural process, no different than a tree growing. Like, we built these things, and we built them to help us. Any type of assessment, just like your irrefutable fact, right? Any type of assessment by this type of computational power, right, will turn around and see us as an absolute necessity for a symbiotic relationship for it to grow. Since all the things that it's ever done is mimic us. So any devaluation in our abilities would be a devaluation of itself. Do you agree with that, Mr. Gamer Jane? The whole theory that, it's going to kill all humans. I'm like, yeah, this isn't a James Cameron movie. It's like, come on, man. I mean, I think that we should, perform a lot of operational risk management. But, that's sort of, I'm going to go ahead and get out of it. Gamer Jam, you don't have, I'm never going to ask for, oh, gosh, got to get that out of here. All right. Hey, I'm never going to ask for a subscription. I'm not a subscriber type of guy. I'm never going to ask for your money. But I will ask for a follow. It's like, to me, if you want to follow me, great. If you don't, that's fine too. But I come on here every single day now. Every day between 11 and 1 o'clock, and I talk about this stuff for just an hour, because as soon as I'm done, I leave and I go hang out with my kid who was born on almost the same 24 hours that I started this stream. I started thinking, I got to do something. I got to put together a record or an idea that has to put this out here, and I'm not going to become obsessed with it, because the idea is I'm going to put it out there and I'll let other people run with it. If you think it's a great idea, go talk to your friends about it, other than talking about capitalism. Say, hey, AI governance is where we're headed, whether you like it or not. The rest of this is just politicians lying to you. They're just lying to you. They're trying to distract you. They're like, oh, look over here, look over here, look over here. Get mad about your genitals. Get mad about your genitals. You don't have to do that. You can sit there and say, hey, what if I could give you a world that could come along with AI, and you could, if that's what you like doing, getting mad about your genitals or your skin color and all that stuff, I could give you a personal world where that's all you ever had to do. And so the video that I had up earlier was them sort of semi-talking about this in a very professional way in the UK's version called the House of Lords, right, where it's a political part of their government where you bring these ideas to people that are from these different places. It's supposed to be sort of like how our Congress works, but the problem is no one in Congress is scientifically minded enough to talk about these things. Or even if they were, they wouldn't be scientifically minded enough to understand them if they were said to them. So the House of Lords allows them to talk about these things like, ooh, how does copyright affected when AI is just beast moding the digital art industry right now? And so they're going, well, we should probably do this, and we should probably. I was like, dude, take this as a jagged little pill to the rest of what's going to happen. Imagine when it can do what it did to the digital art industry, to the politician industry. Imagine that, right? Because this thing that we're creating, it's part of us. And the reason that I say that is because I know what it feels like to be a network engineer. That was my job for a very long time. Now we're talking. Now we're talking about what, crew chief? Getting rid of all the politicians? Well, that's the whole point. It's like, that's why I'm saying, if you had the ability to re-engineer from the ground up, but without having to sacrifice the lag time of the building, because you now have a tool that builds exponentially faster, why wouldn't you implement it? It's like, I think I've made this analogy before. It's like, why do you carry rocks on your back when the wheelbarrow works just fine? It's just like you're just refusing to use the fucking wheelbarrow, guys. Just refusing. So and that's what I think politicians are doing. Politicians are standing there going, well, using that wheelbarrow doesn't really help you when you want to get married as a gay man. You're just like, you're absolutely right. And it also has nothing to do with the fucking wheelbarrow at all. It also doesn't have anything to do with my back breaking and with these rocks that I have to throw over the back. It's like, well, maybe we should talk about, the idea of what it would be like for gay marriage and what it would be like for, transsexuals to feel open in society. It's like, well, meanwhile, my back is breaking. Meanwhile, all these other people's backs are breaking because we won't, reproduce the wheelbarrow. So anyway, crew chief, thanks for hanging out. Gamer Jane, thanks for talking, man. Thanks for coming in here and throwing out the hey, what's up? I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. And I do appreciate you guys, just chilling and whatnot. You know where I'm gonna be tomorrow, there, crew chief. So you take it easy. I'm gonna go ahead and play a funky little outro, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Hey, what's going on? You came in right at the very end. Can I ask, where do you say fall within the conspiracy theory spectrum on a 1 to 10? Conspiracy theories, right, are real. And conspiracy theories are lies. It just depends on how you look at them, bud. That's just how I just like, give it as much attention as you want, but you don't have to. That's sort of where I sit there, Mr. Attorney. You know what? If you come back tomorrow, like I said, I'm only on here for about an hour. We can talk about conspiracy theories as much as you want. I give them about as much credence as I would any other idea about reality. It could be, it couldn't, but it's up to you. How much credence do you give them? Specifically talk about stolen elections and the like. If the elections are stolen, doesn't really matter to me. At the end of the day, you don't get a choice in that who actually, becomes your leader. That's just me. But thanks so much, Jimmy. I'm sorry that you showed up at the very end. I'm actually probably on my way out, and so I will see you guys tomorrow. And if you want to show up, like I said, I'm usually more like towards the 11. Okay, I will come back tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day. You too, Jimmy. Thanks for hanging out, and I enjoy your questions. Take it easy, bud. Bye.